Hello my fellow chess players, this is International Master YF Chess and today I'll be going over 10 tips to help you improve instantly. Whether you want to impress a crush, beat your friend, or push for Grandmaster, you can use everything in this video right now for instant results. So don't hesitate to jump into some games straight after to start putting them into practice. If you find these useful, please smash the like button and subscribe for more.
Starting with tip number 10. Calculate checks and captures.
Calculation is thinking ahead move by move, enabling us to find the best moves, discovering glorious checkmates, and avoiding stupid blunders. But the challenge and beauty of chess is the countless possibilities. A typical middle game position has around 40 possible moves, so 160 possibilities after 2 moves, over 6,000 possibilities after just 3 moves. In this position, black has 35 possible moves, but there are only 4 possible captures or checks. Rook takes a3, queen takes b5, knight takes d4, and knight takes e4. Very quickly we can see rook takes a3 loses a rook, queen takes b5 loses a queen, and knight takes d4 looks more promising due to this discovered attack, but because we can just take first with check and then win the knight, knight takes d4 is also no good. Finally, we have knight takes e4, which looks like it loses a piece to knight takes e4, but if we calculate one move deeper, again looking at captures and checks for black, queen takes b5 regains the piece, effectively trading a knight for a bishop and a pawn. Knight takes e4 happens to be the best move to give black a winning position. Needle in a haystack if we calculate aimlessly, but not so hard to find focusing on checks and captures. Grandmasters can calculate over 10 moves ahead by identifying the top moves of the position through their instinct and understanding, so they're calculating maybe 3 or 4 possibilities instead of 40. There's no way to boost your chess instinct and understanding overnight, but an instant hack for everyone to calculate more efficiently is to always calculate checks and captures for yourself and your opponent, because these tend to be the game-defining moves.
On to tip number 9. Make a plan.
Playing move by move aimlessly, hoping to win the game, is wishful thinking. Former world champion Garry Kasparov said, "It is better to have a bad plan than no plan." But how do we formulate chess plans, and ideally strong ones? You'll have a good idea after the next few tips.
Tip number 8. Talk to your pieces.
If you were managing a football team, you'd want to get the most out of each and every one of your players. You wouldn't play Messi as a defender or Ronaldo in goal. It's no different in chess with your pieces. Ask each piece how they're doing and what their ideal square would be. In this position, the knights are already excellently placed. This rook is active on a half-open file, and so is this bishop, controlling a bunch of squares. On the other hand, this rook is sleeping on a8. A better square would be c8 on the open file, but there's no rush to get there. The queen's also chilling, but she is contributing, and she doesn't have a fantastic square yet. And finally, this bishop on d7 is pretty terrible, blocked in by his own pieces. If we ask the bishop where does he want to be, we realize if we can get him to the h5 to d1 diagonal, he goes from 0 to hero, which is why in this position we play bishop to e8, the start of a crushing attack. In terms of prioritization, try to improve your least active pieces first. It's more important to get all your players onto the pitch than fine-tuning to a player or piece that is already active. Talk to each and every one of your pieces and get more out of them.
Tip number 7. Be a savvy piece trader.
We start each match with equal armies, but as the game progresses, the side making favourable trades will emerge with the stronger force. Before making any trades, ask yourself, is my piece better than the enemy's? Even better, identify good trades in advance and try to execute them, like exchanging a bad bishop for your opponent's godlike knight. In general, trades are good when you have less space so you become less cramped, or if your king is at risk to reduce the enemy's attacking forces, and chance of checkmate. It's usually also a good idea to trade pieces, but not pawns, when having a material advantage, to help close out the game and minimize your opponent's comeback chances. If the opposite is true, you'll generally want to avoid trades.
Tip number 6. Play around weaknesses.
In chess, a weakness is a square which you have difficulty controlling, often created by pawns moving past these squares, as well as the lack of pieces that can fight for the square. Ultimately, this can lead to loss of material, inactive pieces, and even checkmate. Classic examples include hanging pieces, a piece which is undefended, as well as the base or root of a pawn chain. The advanced pawns in the chain are secure, but all chains have a base which can't be defended by other pawns. At any moment in time, we should be aware of our opponent's weaknesses as well as our own, so we can exploit enemy weaknesses and defend our own. Even better, we should actively create enemy weaknesses and avoid creating our own.
Tip number 5. Counter the enemy plan.
Chess is far more complex than rock, paper, scissors, but the principle still applies with plans. If your opponent plans to castle queenside, can you prepare to launch a queenside attack? If they want to activate their pieces on certain squares, can you prevent that by restricting their movement or controlling those squares? If they maneuver all their pieces to defend a weakness, can you attack another weakness instead? If your opponent plans to use rock, you should plan to use paper.
Tip number 4. Be flexible.
Continuing the rock, paper, scissors analogy, if you always use paper, a good opponent can beat you every time with scissors. The situation on the chessboard is evolving every move. What may have seemed like the optimal plan last move may become a losing plan the next. In this game, I had the upper hand thanks to my more active pieces and attack on the white king. White looks to escape with king f2, so we switch the attack to the queen side with rook b8, king g1, queen a3, threatening rook b2, so white defends with rook b1. Takes with check, recaptures, queen takes f3, and white can't capture the rook because queen f1 followed by queen h1 is checkmate. Knight f2, hanging on, and now for the killing blow, we switch back again to attacking on the h-file with an unstoppable attack. Keep an open mind and keep your options open so you can adapt depending on the position and counter your opponent's plans.
Moving on to off-the-board tips with tip number 3. Focus.
If you find your mind wandering during a game, thinking, what's for dinner? Or when will COVID end? You're playing with a huge handicap. You should be using 100% of your brain power to try and find the best move, every move. Block out visual and auditory distractions and be hungry for the win to motivate you to consistently achieve full concentration. During tournaments, I personally like to place my elbows on the table and use my hands to form a wall just above my eyes so all I can see is the chessboard. One experience I'll never forget is the fire alarm going off abruptly and loudly during the British Chess Championships. Everyone started to evacuate, but the Grandmaster playing next to me was so focused he didn't realize or move a muscle until another player nudged him.
Tip number 2. Manage your time.
If you're starting off or playing casually, there won't be time limits. In that case, use as much time as reasonably possible to calculate and determine the best plan. In any competitive match, the clock is part of the game, ticking on our turn, and we lose if it hits 0. It's no good finding all the best moves if you end up losing on time, but it's also no good playing too quickly and getting crushed on the board. The trick is to identify key moments to invest your time in, to make the right important decisions. Often, this will be positions requiring calculation, where there are many captures and checks. Another trick is to use your opponent's time to think ahead. If your opponent has many options, it's a good idea to think about plans and general concepts during the opponent's move, rather than calculating, as these will be useful regardless of your opponent's choice.
And last but not least, tip number 1. Manage your emotions.
The only beneficial emotion during a match is a savage hunger to win, pushing you to your mental limits. After a mistake, it's all too easy to get upset, leading to another mistake. On the other hand, after outplaying your opponent, it's also tempting to be happy and smug, which can lead to a huge throw. Amateurs have emotional roller coasters during the game, but you should be like Buddha. Feelings are just visitors. Let them come and go. That's it for now. 10 tips to instantly improve at chess. Let me know which of these tips you found most useful, and if you enjoyed this, make sure to hit the sub button for more chess content. Food for thought. All these chess tips apply to life as well. Thanks for watching, and good luck crushing the unlucky noobs who haven't seen this video.